Here. I
Foster.
guess I just say here.
Good evening.
Ganguly is not present. Graham Hudek.
Here, good evening.
And Segrist is present. Slavens.
Good evening.
I am here.
Great, can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, great. Can I have a motion to approve and adopt the agenda? We're going to take G6 because the title is not correct and move it to the next board meeting. Can I have a motion for that, please?
Madam Supervisor, I move to approve the agenda as presented, with one modification, removing item G6 for the next meeting.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion approved. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from November 9th, 2021.
Madam Supervisor, I move to approve the November 9th, 2021 minutes.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Trustee Borninski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Okay, the next item we have is public comment on agenda items only for this first one. Let me see. So public comment, we're now at the portion of the meeting for public comment. Anyone who wishes to address the board on agenda items is invited to at this time. We appreciate that individuals please identify themselves by name and community of residence while limiting comments to 3 minutes. This is an opportunity to speak to items on the agenda, inform the board about your views, and provide input for us to take into the decision-making process. It's not a time for question and answers. If you seek information about the administration of the government or are looking for a response, please follow up with township staff on particular issues. So do we have anyone that wants to speak to any items on the agenda for public comment? No public comment? Public comment? Do we have any public comment questions online about the agenda items? Do we see any? Okay. Any hands? No? Okay, thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is the payment of the bills.
Madam Supervisor, I motion that we pay the bills. Support.
Motion made by Treasurer Slavin, supported by Trustee Foster. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Great, motion passes. Next item we have on agenda is a public hearing. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So move.
Support.
Or do you have to officially do it, Michael?
I would like to read.
Okay.
Madam Supervisor, I move to open the public hearing on the adoption of the fiscal year 2022 budget.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Trustee Snyderman. Clerk Seegers, please take a roll call on the motion.
Are we yay or nay?
Right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Public hearing is open. So do we have anyone in the audience and public comment to hear public hearing and adoption of fiscal 2022 budget? Are there anyone want to ask any questions? Nope. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. I thought I heard
Do we have
her.
any public comment? Public comment, and Chad, do we have anything, any hands?
Madam Supervisor, I move to close the public hearing at 7:11.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Trustee Foster. Do we have, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Does the board, I'd like to open board discussion on adoption of the fiscal 22 budget that we reviewed the other day.
Madam Supervisor, I move that the board adopt the following resolution, public hearing and adoption of the fiscal year 2022 budget, whereas Act 359 of 1947, the Charter Township Act requires that the annual budget be adopted by resolution, whereas pursuant to MCLA MCL 141.412 and .413, notice of a public hearing on the proposed 2022 budget was published in a newspaper of general circulation on November 11, 2021, and a public hearing on the proposed budget was held November 23, 2021. Now therefore be it resolved that the estimated total revenues and expenditures for the 2022 fiscal year are hereby appropriated on a fund level basis. Totals of the funds are as presented for all funds. Further resolved that the township supervisor has the authority to approve budget adjustments between departments based upon recommendation by the appropriate department director and the finance and budget director in the accordance with adopted policies. And further resolved that the Charter Township of Canton Board adopts the 2022 budget for the various funds on a fund level. Township officials responsible for the expenditures authorized in the budget may expend township funds up to, but not to exceed, the total appropriation authorized for each fund. Further resolved that there shall not be any new positions created that shall result in an increase in employee headcount within a department or division without prior township board approval. Further resolved that the township supervisor has the authority to fill existing vacant and budgeted positions and reclassified positions based upon the recommendation by the appropriate department director and the finance and budget director. And finally, further resolved that claims against the township shall be approved by the Charter Township of Canton Board prior to being paid. The township clerk and the township treasurer may authorize payment of certain claims prior to approval by the township board to avoid late penalties, service charges, and interest. For example, utilities and payroll in accordance with approved salaries and hourly rates adopted by the township board. The township board shall receive a list of those claims paid prior to approval for approval of the next board meeting.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Treasurer Slavens. Is there any board questions or comments? And Director Trumbull is here today.
Do we have a presentation because of our previous study session?
Yes, we reviewed it in our previous session.
Yeah, there's been no changes since the previous presentation that we made to the board. So it's budget is, we're asking the board to adopt the budget as presented back on November 2nd, I believe it was.
Kate?
Yes, I just wanted to thank Wendy and all her staff, and then also the various departments for their hard work on this. Thank you.
There was, if I may, Madam Supervisor, there was a $250,000 budgeted for physical servers, but there was discussion that might not be realized. Is that still, so if no changes have been made, that's still in this approved budget?
Correct. There's been no changes, but anything that would be requested to be spent would come before the board at that point in time, before any appropriations would actually be made. My sense is that a new director might have a different direction they may want to go as far as putting more stuff into the cloud versus physical servers. So where I would envision there may still need to be a significant spending of our resources, but it may not be for physical servers. It might be for putting more things into the cloud at that point in time. But based on our current need for replacement, our current servers need to be upgraded and replaced. So if we stick with the same storage methodology, that would be coming forth before the board at a future meeting for approval for that specific item.
And the transfer to the DDA was not included in the 2022 budget, if I'm...
The transfer to the DDA is actually included in the 2022 budget. It was not included in the 2023 budget. My understanding is that will be a required amendment coming forth for 2022. The DDA board did not approve to take that out of their budget, and the timing of when we're putting that in, we have to have a balance. We can't have a transfer out of one and not into another, or else we're not balanced out. So my understanding is we will make that adjustment moving forward. My understanding is the DDA is not anticipating receiving that in 2022, so it'll be an adjustment that we make moving forward.
Correct. So when the DDA voted on the budget, it was not included. They did not include that $400,000 when we voted on it last week, I believe.
Currently, it's included in our budget. Nobody shared that with me, that the DDA made that change.
I was at that board meeting, we voted on it, that we did not approve transfer because we were talking about how it wasn't supposed to move forward. So we can make that amendment right now if we want.
Wait, I'm sorry. You're,
So you said
this is clear as mud. I got lost.
you transferred the 400,000 to the DDA?
We did not transfer it. It's included in the budget out of the general fund to transfer money from the general fund to the DDA fund. And the DDA fund has the revenue recorded in their fund as the budget is currently being presented to the board. The transfer has not happened. And this is the first time hearing that the DDA board did not make that motion to accept the funds in their budget. So that is currently in the budget for both the DDA and the general fund.
So then what would we need to do? I mean, if we vote on this,
You can either adopt it as presented, and then we can bring an amendment forward at the next meeting to amend it, which would be probably the easiest thing to do. Or you can make the motion right now to make that, but I think it would be easier for us to say, you want to make that amendment, and we can do that at the following board meeting. It'd be our first amendment before the budget's even, the year even starts, but it would actually be an easier way to get the paperwork appropriate.
I don't feel comfortable approving the budget if our intention is to not make that payment.
correct.
So I would much rather amend the motion to reduce, the transfers out of general fund, right? So I would move to reduce the general fund by $400,000 for the purposes of eliminating the transfer to the DDA. Is it $400,000 exactly?
1 minute, I'm 95% sure, but I can see
I
that
can pull it up.
relatively quickly.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You'd have to make a same motion out of the DDA budget, out of the expenses of the DDAs. Let me double check that as well.
I can appreciate that the DDA didn't vote, or maybe didn't vote to reduce, the money we were going to transfer, but I'm not entirely certain how that would obligate us to have to make that, to approve a budget with that in it, right? I mean, in that case, like, I don't vote to give me $1 million raise. Right, that wouldn't legally obligate the board to give me $1 million raise.
Yeah, there's a long discussion on it, that's why I really know this one.
So we are approving the expenditures in the resolution, so that's why I just wanted to reduce the expenditure out of the general fund. Since we approve it at a fund level. And then I mean, I don't have a second for my amendment anyway, so.
Oh, did you just say your amendment? To not put the 400,000 in?
Yeah, to reduce the expenditure line item by $400,000 to
Second?
eliminate the transfer
Thought we
from
were
the general
waiting
fund
on
into
the
the
exact
DDA.
amount.
Oh, they're waiting
And
to,
vice versa.
they're looking up Wendy's for the exact number.
Pressure. Trying to find which department that was expensed out of. It is $400,000.
Okay,
Oh, yep, $400,000.
I have a second to the motion. Is there a second? Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Trustee Foster, to amend the motion. Do you want to read the motion again? Or is it a long one?
so I move to amend the initial resolution by reducing the appropriate, the expenditure out of the general fund by $400,000 for the purposes of eliminating the transfer to the DDA. And if the DDA budget, in fact, does acknowledge or, that was approved, I would ask that we do the offset of the revenue. Yeah.
Trustee Foster, do you still support that motion?
Yes, I do support.
Okay, all those in favors of that amendment, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, let's see.
Now you have to vote on
The acceptance of the budget.
which has already been moved.
Okay,
We have a
let's,
motion on the table still.
motion on the table to approve the budget. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a consent calendar. Can I hear a motion on the consent calendar?
Madam Supervisor, I move that the board approve the consent calendar as presented. Item C1, consider 2022 zoning board of appeals meeting dates. And item C2, consider continuation of 2 contracts with Great Lakes Contracting Solutions LLC for the Millage Road Improvement Program.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segrist, supported by Trustee Borninski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. First item on the general calendar, consider special land use amendment to expand indoor pet boarding and training facility for Dogology University.
Madam Supervisor, I move that the board approve the following resolution: approval of the special land use expansion for Dogology University indoor pet boarding and training facility. Whereas project sponsor has requested special land use approval to expand the indoor pet boarding and training facility on the tax parcel listed at 44125 Ford Road. And whereas the Planning Commission reviewed the request and applicable criteria and voted 6-0 to recommend approval with conditions, as the request meets the criteria of special land use approval in sections 27.03 subsection C of the zoning ordinance. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton, Michigan does hereby approve the expansion of the special land use for an indoor pet boarding and training facility on the subject parcel at 44125 Ford Road, as the request meets the special land use criteria of the Canton Township zoning ordinance pursuant to the information and plans provided, subject to the site maintaining the standards of the previously approved site plans, with the exception of the approved exterior changes and meeting the noise standards of section 702, subsection A of the zoning ordinance.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segrist, supported by Trustee Foster. Thank you. At its meeting on September 28, 2021, the Township Board approved a special land use for the project sponsor to establish an indoor pet boarding and training facility at 44125 Ford Road, which is located on the south side of Ford Road between Brookline Street and Elmhurst Street. The parcel is Zone C2, Community Commercial, on the north 150 feet, and OSP, which is off-street parking, on the south 60 feet. On November 9, 2021, the Township Board rezoned southern 10 feet of the building and the area approximately 30 feet south of the building from OSP to C2. As a result, the project sponsor proposes to expand the operations of the indoor pet boarding and training facility to occupy the southern 10 feet of the building and to remove 45 parking spaces south of the building to build an outdoor fenced-in bathroom area for dogs. Indoor pet boarding and training facilities are special land uses in the C2 zoning district subject to section 6.02K3 of the zoning ordinance, and the areas proposed for the expansion of the use are located in the C2 zoned areas of the site. At its meeting on November 1st, 2021, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the expansion of the special land use for the indoor pet boarding and training facility subject to conditions. Director Smith, do you have anything to add?
No, I have nothing else to add. Patrick Sloan's here tonight as well. And I think this is the 3rd or 4th time they've been before the board in the last couple of months, but I think this will be the last amendment that we would need to do for this site.
Okay, thanks. Trustee Foster, do you have anything to add?
I do not. I was not able to attend this planning commission meeting because I was recovering from my COVID booster shot, so I had a fever.
Thank you for getting your shot. Clerk Segrist?
Is the project sponsor in attendance? I assume somebody has communicated to them that we have we require licensure for indoor pet boarding facilities under our municipal ordinances, and that before they can operate, they are required to get a license from the clerk's office. That is,
Are they here? Or, I'm sorry, Patrick.
Thank you. We'll let the applicant know of that requirement.
yeah. And we may want to go through the process that we had talked about for similar licenses with the review, the DR?
Correct, yeah, with the DRC process.
Okay.
Any other questions? The board? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Item G2, consider approval of the Monarch Grove Site Plan.
Madam Supervisor, I move that the board adopt the following resolution: approval of the site plan for Monarch Grove. Whereas project sponsors requested approval of a site plan for Monarch Grove located at the southwest corner of Ford Road and Gorman Road, which is located between Beck Road and Canton Center. And whereas the Planning Commission reviewed the site plan and plan development agreement and voted 7-0 to recommend approval of the request as it meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance and consistent with the plan development agreement for Monarch Grove, now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton, Michigan is hereby approved the Monarch Grove site plan on the subject tax parcels listed, subject to the requirements of the final plan development district approval and all state, county, and municipal requirements, including the necessary revisions noted in this report for landscaping, and that the permitting and construction of the off-site sidewalk along Ford Road be done to the satisfaction of MDOT and the Canton Township Engineering Services Division.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Trustee Snyderman. The applicant proposes to construct a housing for the elderly use at the southwest corner of Ford Road and Gorman Road, located between Beck Road and Canton Center Road. The proposed housing for the elderly use consists of 225 units on 17.25 acres, which are proposed as follows: 53 units of independent living, 102 units of assisted living, 60 in Phase 1 and 42 in Phase 2, 32 units of memory care, and 38 attached elderly cottages. Prior to site plan review, the Township Board approved the final Plan Development District on August 24, 2021. Each Plan Development District is required to demonstrate definite benefits to the community pursuant to Section 27.04 of the zoning ordinance. The most significant definite benefits are architectural design of the buildings, paving of Gorman Road to the site's entrance, including reconstruction of the approach to 3 lanes with dedicated right and left turns from Gorman Road onto Ford Road, extending the sidewalk along the side of Ford Road eastward about 620 feet to connect to the existing sidewalk in front of Bell Tire, adding northbound and southbound right turn lanes at the intersection of Canton Center Road and Ford Road to permit overlap phases for northbound and southbound right turns, maintaining over 25% of the site as open space and including outdoor recreation areas for residents of the development that will include pickleball and bocce. At its meeting on November 1st, 2021, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the site plan subject to conditions. Director Smith, do you have anything to add?
I have nothing else to add, unless there's any questions.
Trustee Foster, do you have anything to add from the
No.
meeting? All right, are there, the people here who are the developer? No? Okay, any questions from the board?
I'd just say that we've seen this a few times, and I think we've done some good compromising, and I'm looking forward to the project.
Okay,
So last time this came before the board, I did vote no, and my concerns about the wetland mitigation still stand, so I still have the same concerns as I did last time.
else? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay?
Okay.
Thank you, motion passes. Item G3. Consider final approval of the Redwood Marketplace Canton Plan Development District.
Madam Supervisor, I move that the board adopt the following resolution: the approval for the final plan development district for Redwood Marketplace, Canton. Whereas project sponsors requested final approval of a plan development district for Redwood Marketplace, Canton, located on the east and west sides of Morton Taylor Road on north of Michigan Avenue. And whereas the Planning Commission reviewed the final planned development plan and plan development agreement and voted 6-1 to recommend approval of the request with conditions as the request meets the criteria for a plan development and results in definite benefits to the community. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton, Michigan does hereby approve the Redwood Marketplace, Canton Plan Development District on the subject tax parcels listed, as provided in the plan development agreement and the plan documents, including a modification to the 4-foot rear elevation offset requirement for the meadow wood, forest wood models, subject to subject to applicant satisfying the requirements of the Wayne County MDOT and Eagle, removing the commercial parking row on the east side of the easternmost drive in the commercial area and adding outdoor seating around the pond near the commercial areas.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segrist, supported by Treasurer Slavens. The applicant proposes to construct a mixed-use plan development PD district for 235 single-story apartments on 48 acres, a density of 4.9 dwelling units per acre, and up to 77,940 square feet of commercial on 14.37 acres on the north side of Michigan Avenue and along both sides of Morton Taylor Road. The preliminary PD was approved by the Township Board of Trustees on July 28, 2020. The final PD plan retains the same number of residential units, commercial floor area, and phasing schedule as the approved preliminary PD plan. However, the following major changes to the plans have been made since the preliminary PD approval. The final PD plan includes sidewalks on both sides of the residential streets, and the preliminary PD plan included sidewalks on only one side of the residential street. The final PD plan includes 28.1 acres of open space, which is 2 more acres of open space than the preliminary PD plan. Additionally, the final PD plan preserves 3.459 acres of regulated wetland, which is 1.7 acres more than the preliminary PD plan. As a result, the increases in these natural areas will result in residential units that are closer to each other and to surrounding natural features. The preliminary PD plan included 3 curb cuts from Michigan Avenue west of Morton Taylor Road and 2 curb cuts from Michigan Avenue east of Morton Taylor Road. Based on the township's recommendations to reduce curb cuts, the final PD plan removes one of these curb cuts west of Morton Taylor Road and one of these curb cuts east of Morton Taylor Road. Each planned development district is required to demonstrate definite benefits to the community pursuant to Section 27.04 of the zoning ordinance. The most significant definite benefits are preserving 26.1 acres of open space, which is 44.8% of the site, which exceeds the minimum open space of 25% for a PD, preservation of regulated wetlands and densely wooded areas, installing a sidewalk network that will allow pedestrian access throughout the development, including between residential uses, commercial uses, and the Lower Rouge Trail, which is northwest of the site, and paving of Morton Taylor Road adjacent to the site. Let's see, that's all. Do you have anything else to say, Director Smith? No? No? Okay.
If there's any questions?
Trustee Foster?
I was not at the planning commission meeting, but I do know that there were a number of questions from the planning commissioners about stormwater and drainage and the wetlands. So, I don't know if the project sponsor's here.
Okay. All right. Do you want to say anything? Would you like to, project sponsors?
Hi, my name is John Gaber. I represent the commercial side, Marketplace of America, and this is Kelly McIver. She's with Redwood and represents the residential side of the project. You've heard about this project. I don't think we have a presentation to make per se, other than to say we've been through this process quite a long time now. We appreciate the thoroughness of staff and of the process as it's progressed, and your indulgence and that of the Planning Commission to improve this project and make it better as it's progressed through the process here. So hopefully we would ask for your approval tonight so we can move forward to the next phase, which would be the site plan stage of the program. And we're here to answer any questions. We have a few members of our team here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Michael?
For the parcel that's on the east side of Morton Taylor Road, I understand that we kind of have like a preliminary kind of site plan, I think, in our board packet on page 100. What kind of a buffer are we talking about? Because the property buttresses the, it goes right up to the trail part property, right? It goes right up to that kind of Lower Rouge Trail. Is there any type of like intended buffer? It does look like there's a bit of a setback there. But What would you do there?
There's a setback there. I have an engineer on the phone. He can provide you detailed, on the Zoom. He can provide you some detailed information on the depth of that setback. That is, my understanding is there's existing tree line and some natural plantings there. So we would do what we could to preserve those things, which we'll know as we get further into the site plan process. And then supplement with the plantings that are required by law, so.
Had we talked about a potential public benefit being an improved sign for the trailhead at the corner there? In the county right-of-way, there's like it just says Lower Rouge Trail in between the speed limit sign. I wonder if.
We can make note of that and talk to,
What's that?
I said we can make note of that and work with them on that. I don't remember having that conversation before, but it's not that we can't have it.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought like a more elaborate sign kind of notifying people the Lower Rouge trailhead there would be a cool feature.
And then just depending on the location, we'll have to work with MDOT as well, because that'll be in there right away.
Those are my only two questions.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Hi, welcome. It's almost difficult to identify the concerns of the Planning Commission because their discussion, as Summer said, seems really long in what they discussed. I guess I would ask Patrick, I was almost surprised to see a 6-1 vote from planning with just a lot of outstanding questions. A lot of talk about flooding. Can you, Patrick, talk to the flooding, or anyone on the team talk to the potential, why there won't be a potential for flooding?
Yeah, so the Planning Commission did have several questions about storm and flooding. Some of the questions related, first of all, let me stress that we also do not want flooding.
Sure.
Right? So our engineer's been really strict about looking at this, even at the preliminary stage. Again, we are at preliminary, so there aren't any final engineering drawings at this point. So in addition to some setbacks, if you'll let me get to my notes here. I'm not an engineer, so I'm going to try to answer this with his bullet points. And if it's not clear, he is on the phone, and then Tom is also here to chat about that. So our storm management basins are being designed to accommodate the 100-year storm event per Wayne County requirements. The storm management basins will include a minimum of 1 foot of additional freeboard, which is, you've got the pond here, and then you've got like up the sides, that's like the additional capacity of the freeboard. In addition to that, and that's over the 100-year storm event elevation. But our current design, our closest finished floor elevation to that is an additional 2 feet above the freeboard. So not only is there the capacity right now for that 100-year flood event, there's also the freeboard plus the 2 feet of freeboard beyond that. And that's how we're addressing that. So I think we have multiple engineers ready to give additional information.
I guess, sure.
Good evening, I'm Tom Gazzoni with Alpine Engineering. At the Planning Commission meeting, it sounded to me like there was concern about all the extreme flooding that we had over the summer. And when I think of that, I think of, well, we're right next to the Lower Rouge River. Okay, so what I did is I went and I looked at the baseline floodplain elevations of the Lower Rouge River. There's established floodplain elevations. And all of the apartment homes are about 8 to 10 feet higher than that established floodplain elevation. That's significantly higher. So to me, I really think that addresses that. When you are working next to a floodplain or within a floodplain, the code is a minimum of 1 foot above the floodplain elevation to your lowest finished floor elevation. We're 8 to 10 feet above that. So when I think of the extreme flooding, I think of the river, okay? The other thing that I'd like to note is there's no basements out here. A lot of times when you have flooding, storms, the first thing to go is the power. Some pumps stop working, and then your basements get flooded. We don't have any basements. So those are the 2 points I'd like to add. Can try to answer any questions.
Thank you. No, that's very helpful to me to know. Other question I had is, a lot of this fronts Michigan Avenue. I know that you're adding in, and I'm glad to see sidewalks on both sides of your roads, but are there going to be sidewalks on Michigan Avenue as well? Yes. I couldn't tell from the diagrams. I know you don't own a contiguous portion there all the way to Morton Taylor Road, and there's a little cutout.
Yes, the commercial portion does have the safety path along Michigan Avenue for that connectivity across the front as well.
Commercial portion is east or west of Morton?
Both, east and west of Morton Taylor, right up against
Oh, it's
Michigan
all
Avenue, the length of it,
in
yeah.
the southern
Yeah, yeah.
part, okay. Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell, I think that's Michigan Avenue on the right, is that right? And I couldn't tell if those were sidewalks or, okay. And then, Mr. Sloan, I noticed a lot of discussion about that portion right at the corner of, and that we don't, the developer doesn't own that portion on the northwest corner of Morton Taylor. Is that something that will be developed? I don't know if there's a home there or what.
Yeah, the northwest corner is not under the control, and then also, I think there may be a piece on the west side of Morton Taylor that's not under the developer's control, so they would have to buffer around any of the property that they don't own if it's not added at a later date or otherwise repurposed.
That really thin one, is that a home or something like that?
On the south of the property, north side of Michigan Avenue, they show a large buffer around an existing property there, and they've designed around it as well with their driveways.
Anne Marie, are you driving what's on the board there, or?
Yes. Yes, where do you want me to move?
I'm on page 96 in my packet. I don't know if you can get to page 96, if it's the same. Yeah. So there, that little skinny piece, that's something, is that owned by someone else? Is that what that is? Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be excluded from the development itself.
Okay, so therefore, there won't be sidewalks in front of that, so there'll be a break in the sidewalks there?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay.
Michael?
The McKinsey drain, which is on does that have standing water typically, or is it like half the drains in Canton act like creeks? But so is there water in that year round usually, or is it a dry drain? You're not enclosing it, are you? In any?
Our engineer has his hand raised on the Zoom. He could speak to that.
On the Zoom?
Alberta?
Yeah, Chad, I don't see the hand raise.
What's his name?
Alberta?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Question was there standing water? There is water in that drain continuously throughout the year.
And there's no plan to enclose it at any point on the site?
Tom can speak a little bit to that. There is a section, if I'm not mistaken, the current conceptual plan does enclose a piece of that drain. Actually, there's two drain crossings, so it won't be enclosed per se, but there will be two culverts. Yeah, crossing the drain. One on the commercial side, one on the residential side. Yeah, if you go down to sheet 100, you had it pulled up. And if you, I don't know if you can rotate it or maximize the view.
Plus would have been the other direction. One more time. There you go.
That makes sense.
So do you require vegetation around some of this drainage area also, where you're clearing it?
Yeah, page 111 has the existing vegetation. That's interesting. Or proposed vegetation, which looks like there's a substantial amount. Nice.
Sometimes with our developments or our condos, you'll see some of the vegetation there, and then they think it doesn't look good, so they mow it down. So this is going to be maintained by the property management company then, correct?
Yes, and we will maintain it according to code. The vegetation provides an important soil erosion control and also flooding things. And again, we're very committed to maintaining the asset, so we're going to take care of it.
Sometimes signs help.
Yes, we have no fun signs, we call them, so.
Any other questions?
You're paving Morton Taylor Road up
Yes.
until your entrance, your northernmost entrance?
I'm sorry?
Up until your northernmost entrance?
Yes, yes,
okay.
we'll pave up to here with phase 1 and then up to the top of phase 2.
Patrick, was there any thought of paving the parking lot for the trailhead as a public?
We reviewed this from about a year and a half ago with the previous conditional rezoning plan as well as the preliminary PD plan. And the additional paving going westward into the park was not one of the definite benefits that were included during the preliminary plan. We have had discussions with the applicants in terms of being able to help out with any future plans that the township may have for the park. So one of the things that we'll be doing is when they install the water and sewer going up Morton Taylor, the township may coordinate with the applicants in terms of if they're doing construction there anyway, we may coordinate with them of trying to extend any township facilities west of Morton Taylor while they're out there working. Just in the future, if there's ever any future facilities at the park, it may make it easier for the township to do something in the future. So if they're out there digging and constructing, our engineering division is aware of that in terms of having our eye on it. So that's something we'll continue to work with the applicants on in terms of coordinating anything with township facilities, even if it's having utilities underground for some date in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Kate?
I wanted to thank our planning commission. The process seems to be working really well, and someone on the planning commission noticed that Eagle permits were not being required in their vote, so they added that, and so I appreciate them doing that and making sure that not only Wayne County permits and MDOT permits, but also Eagle permits were required.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is consider increase of award of C.D.B.G housing rehabilitation contract.
Just out of curiosity, does anyone, who supported that last motion?
Slavens?
Great.
Thank you. Trying to see.
Madam Supervisor, I move to approve an increase of $4,200 for the Forest Housing Rehabilitation Contract to Stratton Home Improvements and to refund $525 of permit fees once the work has been completed using C.D.B.G dollars.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Treasurer Slavens. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get out of the previous mode of an upside-down packet here.
I know.
Control Shift plus or Control Shift minus?
Okay, getting back to the beginning. All right, let's just do it this way. There we go. I'll go back to here. And 23, just opening the packet again. Jeez, that's funny.
Once we're not waiting on me.
I know, it's like, come
You
on.
want me to read it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead, because I can't get it back to normal. Oh,
Always do
wait,
that to
she's like,
me.
wait a minute. Oh, wait, Diane has it, thank you. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. At the February 11, 2020 meeting of the Township Board, the board awarded contracts with Stratton Home Improvement for housing rehabilitation work under Canton's Affordable Housing Program. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and a lack of construction labor force, Stratton Home Improvement was unable to begin work on the Forest home. The homeowner is anxious to have the work begin, but the contractor cannot afford to perform the work with the prices quoted pre-pandemic. Our region is facing shortages of construction supplies as well as significantly higher prices for these goods. The original contract was for $20,800, and we are requesting an increase of $4,200 for a new contract amount of $25,000. Director Trumbull, do you have anything to add?
I do not, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
So we had the funds available in CVG?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There's plenty of available funds within the CDBG program to cover this.
Was that last year's money or this year's money?
Would be
or
last year's money.
Last year's money, okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, consider approving on-site medical services for firefighter physical exams.
Madam Supervisor, I move to approve the purchase of on-site medical services for firefighter medical exams from the BioCare Incorporated in the amount of $63,920, of which 90% of the expense will be reimbursed through a FEMA Assistance to Firefighter grant.
Motion made by Clerk Seeger, supported by Treasurer Slavens. The Fire Department is requesting to purchase on-site medical services for firefighter physicals from BioCare Incorporated in the amount of $63,920. The department will be reimbursed for all but a 10% match of this expense from the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters grant that was awarded to the department and accepted by the board earlier in the year. Director Stockline, do you have anything to add?
Nothing other than we're excited to get it going. We're actually scheduled in a couple weeks if we're approved tonight.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? No? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Great. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Public comment, do we have anyone for public comment? Please come up, please, to the podium.
people were just here wanting site approval on Martin Taylor Road. Very familiar with that area. Question I have, recently and back in the 70s, I think they missed it. Down there at the Sheldon Road, and there's a stick in there for flood. It's about 3 foot from the bottom of the bridge, or 4 foot, and it's 3 foot for the rail. I've seen it go over the rail in the 70s and early 80s. So right there is approximately 6 foot to 7 foot right there. So he says 10 foot. If he's 10 foot, he's walking on thin ice. There. Then you have a pond back there with a 10-acre pond. Wetland was pushed from, somebody wanted to use, expand their facility on Morton Taylor and Michigan Avenue at one time. So the county gave them a 10-acre parcel back there so they could create a pond. Now, that's there. Now, the next thing is I'd like to know, they're planning the worst 100-year rain, like everybody else has a holding pond like the subdivisions? Is that considered? So they have 2 or 3 things to consider on there. Now, I've seen it here in this last rain, and your Public Works Department has seen it almost over that bridge, the rail of the bridge. 3 foot from the bottom of the bridge, or 4 foot, and another 2 or 3 foot over the bridge rail. Now, let's move on with the story. I've asked many times over here, you've been here when it was okay to weed cutter, brush cutter, the township had for $15,000. I want to know when it's going to be sold, or when it's going to, when you're going to use it. I see the county out here using, what's the use of buying it if you're not going to use it? That's it. Same way with the street sweeper. Next thing is, I'd like to know on the seats, the seatings of the theater. I've been in the past, looked at it, where there was $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 in seatings. I could be wrong, but there's been a lot of seatings there, and I'd like to know why the seatings need to be redone. Are they totally wore out, just like the copper roof? I have a question on that while I'm here. The copper roof on the summit, I've worked on commercial big jobs. Renaissance downtown, they have roofs that last for over 25 to 50 years. What's the life of that building before it's tore down? Maybe 100 years? So the copper roof, how long will it last? 150? So what's the use possibly? Has anyone considered that? The copper roof will outlast the life of the building. Is it feasible to put it on? Was that ever considered? I'd like some of those answers, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Do we have any public comment online? No public comment. Public comment, no public comment. Okay, thank you. Next item is a board comment. So we'll start with Trustee Foster. Do you have anything?
No, not really. I would say, happy Thanksgiving holiday coming up this week, but nothing else.
Thank you. Clerk Segrist?
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. Treasurer Slavens?
Well, I want to thank Trustee Snyderman for hosting the Veterans event. He did a wonderful job.
Well, thank you.
It was a wonderful event for all of our veterans, and everybody enjoyed it. And again, happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody's able to spend some time with their family. And lastly, we will be mailing winter taxes out December 1st. So they should be hitting the mailbox Wednesday or Thursday, and they are due February 14th.
Thank you. Trustee Snyderman?
Thank you for that, Treasurer Slavens. I really enjoyed doing it, and I thought it was a nice evening, well put together by the Leisure Services Department. The other thing I wanted to note is that this marks the end of the first year for this board, and so I just wanted to self-congratulate a little bit, us, again, going through a tough time in our community, our state, our nation, our world, and being able, along with our directors' support and help, to navigate those those rough waters. So on to the next year.
Thank you. Trustee Borninski?
So I'd like to echo what Treasurer Slavin said about the event for veterans. It was quite a nice evening and very moving. Also, I guess I should say congratulations to everyone on surviving a year together. But also, more importantly, I wanted to wish everyone a safe and healthy and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Any comments from the directors? No? Okay, well, I just want to say that, thank you again for Veterans Day. We had a letter. I know one of the veterans was concerned about expanding some of our program next year, and what's exciting is that the Veterans Clinic is going to be opening in January, so hopefully we can partner with them and maybe do some expansion, so that, looking forward to that. Also, on Thanksgiving is the Turkey Trot, the famous Canton Turkey Trot. So that starts this Thursday. If you haven't signed up, you can still sign up and get your bib. You don't have to run it, you can walk it. That's what I'm going to be doing. Also, another thing, just to remind our community members that COVID numbers are growing in Canton. Unfortunately, that's something we have to say, and we ask you to still be careful. Masks are important. Wear them, socially distance, and I know a lot of people want to get together, but be very careful because we want to get those numbers down. The hospital numbers have also climbed. So we ask everyone to stay safe and have a great Thanksgiving. Anything else? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion from Clerk Segers to adjourn and supported by Treasurer Slavins. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned.